Fox News contributor Lanny Davis is with us from New York.
Who said that?
He's been involved in every, I think you said it. That is what you said. You've been involved in every Iowa caucus since 1968, except
Correct.
for 96, when you started a 2-year stint as a special counsel to President Bill Clinton. You served on the executive committee of the Democratic National Committee, and the last time I was with you at one of these events, it was 4 years ago in Iowa, and we were ready for a coronation of Hillary Clinton. I think they spent $3 million on a party, and Barack Obama won it. How was that?
I just told your producer that I'm sitting here thinking back to having a broken heart just about when you and I were together, Shep. So it's a painful memory. I've been a friend of Hillary's for a long time. But let's move on. I don't want to remember that painful night. It was a very painful
All right.
night.
Why did you say these things about Iowa?
Well,
Should
look,
I repeat them, or would you like to?
People in Iowa, I love. It's a great state. Please forgive me, but your process is anti-democratic. You don't get a chance to secret ballot. You have to stand up. The voter registration checkpoints are very loose, so there are a lot of people that show up. Well, the fact is that it's a very small turnout of a very small, atypical state that has a disproportionate impact on electing presidents.
The average attendance at University of Michigan home football games is 111,000. If they're lucky tonight, they'll have 140,000 Iowans beginning the process for 320 million Americans. Makes perfect sense to me.
Look, before I get destroyed next time I go to Iowa, the fact is these people do take this seriously. They want to meet and talk 3 or 4 times to every presidential candidate, kind of like New Hampshire, which has a disproportionate influence on the process. But I've been saying this really since 1968, so it's never going to change, because nobody running for president is ever going to challenge Iowa, because they know they need Iowa.
Democrats may be sitting around giggling at this process as it's one front runner after another front runner after another. But, I mean, you've got a candidate whose poll numbers are low, who's dealing with unemployment numbers, which history tells us mean he can't win. Now, history may not repeat itself, but history says with these numbers, you can't win.
Well, people have to make choices, and I do agree that President Obama would probably agree these numbers have to get better by next October. But people have to make a choice as to whether President Obama would do a better job than the Republican that they're looking at. And right now, the Republicans are shooting at each other and not looking so good. But I don't think there's a basis for confidence here. I think President Obama still being in the 40s in his approval rating is a big problem. Republicans get their act together. This is going to be a very tough election.
Mitt Romney, is that the one that Democrats are most worried about? I mean, that's what they'd like for us to believe, but I just feel like they got, you know, a few dozen $1 million that they're going to throw at it.
Well, first of all, Mr. Romney is the more moderate among the range of conservatives, even though he wouldn't like me to say that until he gets through the primaries. Then he'll probably like that. But I think he's quite weaker than I really thought. I have a lot of admiration for him. But what he's now doing about trying to deny that he had anything to do with the gang up on Newt Gingrich with millions of dollars from a super PAC, and he sort of says, oh, I have nothing to do with that. And now he won't disclose his income tax returns. This is going to catch up to him on the issue of authenticity and candor, which is his greatest vulnerability. So I think he's really got a tough road and may not be as electable as people think.
What about Newt Gingrich? What happened?
Well, look, he's clearly the smartest, most experienced, probably the most qualified. But all that baggage and the negative super PACs made it very tough on him.
Yep, they came down on him with $3.5 to $5 million from the Romney camp. Whether the Romney camp wants to admit that or not is another matter. But, I mean, it's all legal, and that's what happened, and Newt Gingrich is done as a result.
Well, let the fighting continue, Shep. Let them just keep throwing all that mud at each other, and we'll win.
You can count on that. You should remember it very well. I think by the time you got to New Hampshire, it was tier time just to get back in it, remember?
Well, she also won all the big states that I can think of.
She did.
Going to the end, and I'm still very proud of her as Secretary of State. So there you go.
She's worked hard. Yes. Lanny Davis, great to see you as always. Thank you. Coming up.